For more on the issue of police reforms, I want to bring on political commentator Darius Mayfield, who also serves as the founder and CEO of Marvel Us Management. Darius, when we look at exactly what's happening across the country right now, it's clear that there are some calling for police to be abolished to some degree, but at the very least defunded. And then there's some that are coming out in support of police. And just recently, you hosted a Back the Blue event. So can you tell us a little bit what that event was like?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me again, Alex. Always good to be with you. The Back to Blue event was an event organized by Priscilla Confrey, who's the founder of New Jersey Women for Trump, and Melissa Roby, who's Brendan Straka's manager and one of the executives at the Walk Away movement. And basically, they did an event yesterday to honor our law enforcement and first responders in Wall, New Jersey. We had everybody there talking from myself to Tom Holman, who was the former acting ICE director, and he gave one heck of a speech yesterday. It was incredible. Ronald Brooks, who was a Medal of Courage recipient, Brandon Straka from Walkaway, Rosali, retired detective and the Oak Ridge councilman, and Larry Cosby, who's the national president of the Federal Law Enforcement Association. So we had some pretty big hitters there, people that are enthralled in the law enforcement world. And we really just wanted to come together and show them that they are respected. We appreciate them. And most importantly, one of the things that touched me was the founders and everybody there. The goal was not to antagonize anybody, like the Black Lives Matter movement and other people, not to separate us, but just to show love and appreciation. That's all they did there yesterday. And from the prayer from the pastor there to all the speeches, they were all gracious enough to reinforce that message. And it really was just an event of love, man. And we just went out there and marched with the bagpipes, did, again, different released doves, did different speeches, and everybody just showed love. And I think the law enforcement community out there was very appreciative of it.
And I did get to see a little bit of your speech that you shared on social media, and I urge all of our viewers to go view that speech as well. And I think I saw it on Facebook, but there's also other speeches by other big heavy hitters, as you were talking about right there. But then I also want to talk about the recipients of those speeches, the people who were on the ground too, because oftentimes when we do turn on the news, we get the polarized version of it, people either yelling in police officers' faces or people just blindly following police, saying that no matter what, I want to support them, and any call for reforms is just nonsense. And I think that there is a middle ground. I think a lot of people do agree with a middle ground. They do want to see some reforms, but at the same time, they acknowledge that a society without police is not very much a society at all. So when you're on the ground talking to people, is that the message that you get as well?
1,000%, man. You hit it on the head. A lot of times it's just one way or the other, and it kind of blocks us all from being able to hear each other. And that was definitely the point of my speech yesterday. I hope I did a good job of this, and I think I did, was just hitting all those points on the head and showing both sides of things, letting the police know that we appreciate what they do. I personally understand that they're there to protect us and provide safety, but at the same time, within my speech, I did let them know that if you have brothers or sisters in the police force that are doing things the wrong way, they're essentially stopping progress and they're making you all look bad in the eyes of a lot of people. So I do think we need to all just open up and listen to each other more. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to agree with anybody all the time. There's cops that do bad things. There's regular people that do bad things. But we both know that the overwhelming majority of cops are good people, just like we know the overwhelming majority of regular people are good people. It's those people in between that we all need to be turning our ear on and making sure that we come up with legislation, forums, whatever it is, to kind of stop these people from doing the things they're doing, being able to recognize it, point it out, and help each other grow past it and progress as a country.
You're exactly right. And it's something, too, that I think we all need to remember is that we're all individuals. We're all, even when we agree, it's going to be agreeing to certain extents based on our own life experiences. I mean, nobody has exactly the same life experiences. I mean, I have my prism of how I view police because of growing up in Chicago. That's going to be very different than the prism of someone how they view police growing up in a more rural area in the middle of Texas. You know, just naturally, those police are going to have different circumstances that they need to respond to. The people in those communities are going to view police very differently. That doesn't mean they're wrong or right either way. It's just acknowledging the fact that different systems call for different approaches, and that's something that we should start acknowledging. Is that something that the Republican Party needs to start understanding? Because we do see some defectors right now, Mike Braun being the most prominent, I think Senator Langford as well, coming out in favor of abolishing qualified immunity. But Republicans are kind of silent on this issue more broadly. It feels like this is something that they want to avoid. Do you think that's true?
Well, in some instances, I'm sure it is. Just like, even though you may not hear about it, there's probably some people on the Democratic side that,
Right.
have some of those same issues. And I think that's where it's important that the president take the leadership role because, as we've talked about before, he is such a pragmatic person. I even heard him when he was talking the other day. He said, "Listen, I understand when it came to these statues. I understand there's some bad people that have statues and did some horrible things, and maybe we can look at some of those things and replace them with other people." So he's a very pragmatic man. So I definitely think we need to listen to his leadership on a lot of these things because he won't just go one way or the other. He'll sit, listen to all the facts, listen to both sides, like what you just said, and come up with a qualified decision somewhere in between where we can kind of move each other and help each other move forward. Now, we're always going to have in these parties, whether it's Democratic or conservative, where you have just people that just see it their way and it's their way or the highway, and they can't really get down there and understand other people. Those type of people, depending on the issue, probably shouldn't be in Congress and Senate anymore. We need pragmatic people. We need people that if they don't understand the situation personally, they're willing to get down on the ground and talk to people that do, and maybe help, help kind of fix some of these issues by listening to all sides and coming up with pragmatic solutions.
Yeah, and to your point, too, we've already seen some instances of those Democratic lawmakers that you were talking about expressing views today that were very different than the views they were holding not too long ago. I mean, Senator Tammy Duckworth is the latest example where she believes that we should revisit tearing down George Washington statues, whereas not too long ago she was praising Mount Rushmore, even talking about dressing up as Mount Rushmore on Halloween, and now all of a sudden it's a symbol of white supremacy and hate speech. It's a very hard pivot from just a few years ago, and I think that's exactly right, where you're talking about these people just kind of pandering to the moment more so than looking for actual change. But Darius Mayfield, I appreciate you for holding that event, speaking at that event as well, and of course for coming on the show tonight and breaking it down. Thank you.